Hi there and welcome to the Simple Knit podcast. My name is Elina and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Simple Knit Co. This is just my little corner of the internet where I talk to you guys about all the things that I'm making. It's mainly knitting, occasionally some other things, but mainly knitting. If this is your first time watching a knitting podcast, congratulations. They're pretty fun, and if you are a new viewer of this podcast as well, welcome. It is lovely to have you here, and to all my lovely returning viewers, as always, it is a pleasure to have you. I'm not sure if it looks any different, but I am recording at a very different time of day to when I usually record. I usually try to film on weekend mornings. It's a bit quieter, the lighting's a little bit better, but I've just been quite busy and not really had the time or energy on the weekends to record. And it's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday afternoon, and I'm due to go out and meet a friend in a little while, and I was trying to think what to do with the little bit of time that I had. It wasn't really long enough to do anything too significant, but I thought, hey, why not record a podcast episode? Because the sun's kind of behind. This is a west-facing wall with a window. The sun's kind of low enough that it's not blinding, but there's still enough daylight that you're not just looking at a blurry screen talking to you. If there's a bit of background noise, I have all the windows open because it is Brisbane and it is November, so it is 10 million degrees and it's super humid. It's so hot. I do prefer summer to winter, so I'm not really complaining, but I did notice I was out on the weekend and I was like wearing something that didn't breathe very well, and I got a heat rash for the first time in a very large number of years, which is super unpleasant. Hopefully that is not a indictment on the summer to come. But yes, it is. The lighting is a little bit strange because it's incredibly smoky. If you're not aware, a lot of Australia in general is having a really horrendous start to the bushfire season, so there are a lot of fires around, and the air quality has just been gross. There aren't really any fires. Oh, excuse me. There aren't really any fires near us, but we certainly are getting the remnants of them. And if you are someone who has been affected by them, I hope that you and your family are fine, and your businesses and property are fine, because it has just been an awful start to the bushfire season, which is apparently not caused by climate change. No. Of course it is. But this is not a climate change podcast or a Elina is sweating podcast. It's a knitting podcast. So I will start today's episode. Oh, pour yourself a drink because I'm a little bit frazzled today. To kind of give you an idea of my mental state before recording this, I thought, oh yeah, I've got a bit of time this evening. Perfect. I want to sit down and have a chat to everyone. I record a podcast episode. I got my stuff ready, set my phone up to film, and then sat down and started recording and realized I hadn't put pants on. So you're welcome. I did stop filming and put some pants on because it's not that kind of podcast. So glad to know, fully clothed, working on the dregs of a Diet Coke, and yeah, let's start by talking about some making. The first thing I'll talk about is what I'm wearing. This tank top has featured on the podcast before. It is my beach tank, which is designed by Jess Schreibstein for Mild Woman. It's just a really cute, simple knit tank top. It's a little bit cropped. I'll just get up and show you. See, it's a little bit cropped. I'm wearing it with white jeans today, which is really cool. The yarn is Wool and the Gang Tina tape, which is a tensile tape yarn. This colour is called Coral Crush, and I think I knit the size large in the pattern, but all of those details and all the other details for all the projects I talk about are on my Ravelry project pages, which you can find in the description box. So that's what I'm wearing. I love this tank top for summer, even though this is like a worsted-ish weight yarn, and it feels like it's quite a lot, like it's heavy, but the tencel just breathes really beautifully. It's amazing for hot and sticky weather, so highly recommend this yarn, and actually goes really well with this pattern as well. So yes, now on to, I don't have anything finished, and there are a few other projects that I'm working on that just aren't really, there's nothing else really to kind of show, not really any marked progress, but I have reached a really fun stage on my Yuri top. So this is the Yuri top from issue 16 or 17 of Amirisu magazine. It is designed by Amy Miller, and I finally finished the tubular bind off on the hem. It's over 300 stitches, and it just took forever. Like, I've done some really long tubular bind offs before, so if you've never done a tubular bind off, it's basically kind of like a sewn bind off. So it's quite slow going, but it creates a really lovely even finish. If you can kind of see that. I know, but look, like there's this much of it. And I've done long tubular bind offs before, but this one just seemed to take forever. Usually I'm just like, you know what, I'll put on a movie, just smash it out, and I would do that, and I feel like I just I'd stitch and stitch and wouldn't make any progress. I think this is quite bunched up on a circular needle. I didn't actually have a visual of how wide it was, but it does mean that now all I need are the two little sleeves and to do the neckband, and I'm done. It's really cute, it fits really well, it hits at a really nice place, and because I did the size extra large, which probably for my measurements the size large would have been big enough, but I just wanted to do the extra large just because I wanted to have a little bit more ease and the fit with how I wanted it to fit. I decided to do the extra large just to give myself a little bit more ease. And because I'm quite a short torso, the like baby doll that I think is kind of meant to be more of like an empire waistline sits virtually at my natural waist. So it's really cute fit on me. I think it's really adorable. So this is the Yuri top by Amy Miller from Amirisu magazine. I think it may be available for individual purchase now, but don't quote me on that. I knit it on, I'm not sure if it's the recommended needle size or not, I can't remember, but I did most of it on a 3.5mm needle and the ribbing on a 2.75mm needle. And the amazing yarn that I'm using is from Fibersmith in Melbourne. It is a alpaca linen silk blend, and the colorway is just called Naturally Dyed with Eucalyptus and Iron, which is what it is. It's naturally dyed with eucalyptus and iron. And even though this is a hand dyed and naturally dyed yarn, I did not alternate skeins at all, and you cannot tell. It is incredible. Like, the color is just so consistent. For a yarn that's also like a mix of different fibers with really different attributes of how they take dye, I just can't believe it. So did not even alternate skeins, which is like a big no-no, but it worked out absolutely fine for me. I just have 1,001 ends to weave in, which I'll do at the end, I guess. I think this project might be going into a little bit of hiatus, just because I'm kind of a little bit burnt out on it, and also because it is an alpaca blend, it's kind of a little bit too warm to be wearing it now. So I mean, I'll pick it up again, but I have a couple of projects that I am super excited to be working on. So when I feel like it, I will pick this one up again, hopefully soon. But yeah, I do want to get it finished because I think it'll be so cute to wear. But a wandering new cast on or two have caught my eye, so won't be getting finished just yet. So that is my Yuri top. So that's kind of all the current things that you've seen before that I've made any sort of interesting progress on to show you. But I feel like I'm talking really fast. And this is probably why I record in the morning, because I'm a little bit more chill. I have two new cast-ons to talk about. One of them still is just a swatch, but one of them I have already swatched, and both of these have been on my Instagram already. And there's one that I've swatched and then already cast on because I'm so excited. So I'll do the cast on one first. It is the Argyll top by Claire Lakewood from the amazing summer issue of Pom Pom Quarterly. It is this gorgeous top that's like a just a cropped tank top with a little tie detail in the front. I think is just so beautiful. The colors that it's in the pattern are really beautiful. So it's the main color is like a 4-ply linen. They use Quince & Company, and then the contrast stripe is also a Quince & Company wool silk blend. And so the colors in the sample are gorgeous, but I saw one on the Instagram account Tiny Laser, and I just instantly fell in love with it and knew I had to have one. I liked the pattern anyway, but when I saw hers, I just loved it. I don't know her real name, but her Instagram handle is Tiny Laser. And so I will just, excuse me because it's in a plastic bag, it's going to crinkle. I have cast it on. Oh my word, what's happening here? Oh, there we go. I've cast it on and made a little bit of progress, so you can't really see, but this is going to be a tank top. And for the main color here, I've knit it in, I wasn't really sure, I knew I wanted to do it in linen like the sample, but I wasn't really sold on any of the Quince & Company colors, and the ones that I wanted were never in stock anywhere in Australia. And like ordering from overseas when I could order in Australia, like it was just I didn't know what to do. But I know someone, I think it might have been Stacey, but it also may not, I'm pretty sure it was Stacey, commented on a previous video when I was talking about this pattern that she had made one out of Knit Picks Lindy chain, which is what I have done as well. So this main navy color is Knit Picks Lindy chain, which is a cotton linen blend from Knit Picks in their navy color, and the contrast stripe is the same yarn that I'm making my Yuri top out of. So the Fibersmith alpaca linen silk in that naturally dyed colorway, which is a really nice, pretty light grey that is going to look really great when I have more than one stripe done. So you work on the back first, so this, it's all knit flat and then kind of constructed together as you go. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I am super stoked with this so far. I think it's really pretty. The colors look so cute together, and I just want to wear it. So I'm highly motivated to work on this one. And yeah, this is going to be my Argyll top. I am knitting it, I think, in a size bigger than recommended. I'm knitting it on a 3.5mm needle, and I feel like, yeah, this sample is a 3.25, which is kind of normal for me. I usually knit kind of tight. So if anything, I have to go up a needle size, which I did, and I'm really happy with the fabric and the way it looks. So yeah, I've got to get my needles going because I really want to have that finished. But luckily it's quite a short top, so there's not a whole bunch of knitting. And the second top that I'm really excited to cast on, I've done a little gauge swatch for it, and so I'm all ready to go. I just have to sit down and cast on. I believe I talked about this pattern in the last episode, but it is the Olara pullover by Whitney Hayward for the latest collection of patterns for the Nightshades yarn by Harrisville Designs. It's actually a crocheted short sleeve jumper top, whatever you want to call it, short sleeve top, but it's crocheted, and I love all of Whitney's designs. I think everything she designs is absolutely beautiful, but this is her first ever crocheted design, and as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to make it. I knew making it in wool, as the original sample is, may not be like the best option for the climate that I live in, but once again, I'm knitting this one in a cotton linen blend. So let me just grab my little swatch, which actually, now I think about it, you're not going to be able to see anything. This yarn is so dark. It is also like a navy color, but it's like a navy that's like almost black, which kind of does mimic the effect of the Nightshades yarn that the sample's in, which are all kind of black yarns that have then been over dyed with different tones, but that it's, so it's kind of just like different shades of black. And this navy is super dark. That is kind of almost black. It is Juniper Moon Farm Zoe yarn, which is a cotton linen blend, and this color is called Arise, number 10. It's really pretty. It's kind of a little bit thick and thin with the sections with how the linen and cotton are spun together, but it's really beautiful to work with. It's not at all dusty and all kind of that really kind of stiffness that you can get from linen yarns, but also it isn't dusty like some cotton yarns can be. So it's a really nice yarn, and if you can see at all, this is my swatch. So this is kind of the textured all over pattern that is kind of in the body of the top, and I've done this, I think this is on the recommended hook size, yeah, a 5mm hook. I thought it was a 5.5, but it's actually a 5, and I did get gauge, so can't really, can you see that? It just looks like a swatch of crocheting. That's what it'll look like. But I love it. I think it's really cool, and I can't wait to have this top. I think I'm actually pretty happy with this swatch. Sometimes my crocheting can get really tight. I've been crocheting for probably actually longer than I've been knitting, but when I started making more garments and things, I think I kind of fell into knitting a bit more, but the first two like wearable garments that I made actually were two tops that I crocheted in cotton that will probably maybe sometime over the summer make an appearance in the podcast. I still wear them, not a lot, but I still do wear them, and I really like them. So this is kind of feels a little bit going back to my roots, and my mum is like mad keen crocheter. She loves it. She does knit as well, but she's definitely more of a crocheting girl. So yeah, this is my swatch for my Olara pullover. They are doing like a little make along for kind of people, I think it's more targeted at people who like are knitters but have never crocheted before, or have never kind of crocheted a large scale project before. And this is probably the most intricate crocheting pattern I've ever done with the way that with the yoke and things. So it'll be interesting to see how I go. It can't be that hard, like with everything. I'm sure I'll get there eventually. The only confusing thing is because I learnt to crochet in Australia and we use the same crocheting terminology as like the UK. So patterns, like American terminology and like British terminology are quite different. Like there's one name, but depending on where the pattern's from, it'll mean something completely different. Like a double crochet or a treble means something completely different. So I just have to remember what language I'm speaking and I'll be fine. But I'm so excited to make this. I just want to start right now actually. But I can't cancel on going out to stay and make this top. But yeah, I'm really excited. But I think the start of that tangent was there is a make along going on kind of at the moment, and every week they're releasing new tutorial videos and things to help novice crocheters or people who have never knit a pattern or crocheted a pattern like this before, kind of giving like tutorial videos and things on what to do, which is super helpful. So if you are wanting to make one, it's kind of a good time. I mean, the resources will still be available, but if you want to make it along with other people as well, now's the time to do it. So that's my swatch for my Olara top. And now just hold your horses, because I just remembered there was one other thing I wanted to talk about and I didn't bring it with me. And we're back. So this last kind of project I have to talk about, it's kind of a cast on fail. So not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I went down, I think it was the weekend before? I think so. A couple of weekends ago, I went down to Melbourne to visit. I have friends who live down there, so I just went down for like Friday to Sunday and had a great time. It was freezing cold as per usual. Got to wear my knits all the time because it was freezing, but I wanted to have kind of a little project to work on that was quite easy and portable. And so I did cast this project on to take with me, and I did quite a bit of progress while I was there, but I think I'm going to have to start over because I'm not 100% happy with it. So this project was inspired by Disco Stitch on Instagram. Once again, cannot remember her real name, but her handle is Disco Stitch. and she had made the ripple top by Jessie Mae Martinson in this yarn, which is Cartier Polynesia, which is like a cotton linen, I think it's got some acrylic in it to blend, and it's just like a really cute yarn that has little, it's quite thin but it has like little slubby bits in it, if you can see. So it's quite interesting yarn, and it's really fun in this super pretty color. It's color 63 if you're interested. But yeah, she had made one, and I thought it was really pretty, and I'd been eyeing off this pattern for a while but hadn't kind of settled on a yarn, and this one I thought, yes, that's what I want. And she had used the she had modified the original ripple crop top pattern, which is for a fingering weight yarn. And I was like, when I was ordering my yarn, I was like, oh, how much do I buy? I was like, well, it says it's a DK yarn, and you can use it for the ripple crop worsted. It says use what, like, it, a lot of the samples are actually knit in DK weight yarn. So I was like, oh cool, I'll just buy enough to knit the worsted weight version. And then when I got it, I looked at the yarn, I was like, I don't think I've made the right call, because although there are some thicker sections, there are long sections of this yarn that are quite thin. Definitely more like a, so it's kind of like a fingering weight yarn. It's like a 4-ply with little bumps in it than a DK or 8-ply yarn. So I started knitting, and it's just like a little bit gappy, and it's not quite what I wanted. So I'll just show you. I mean, it's a little bunch of ribbing bunched up on a circular needle, so it's not super clear, but as you can see, the gauge is, I got gauge for the pattern, so this is what the gauge should be, but just with this yarn, it's a little bit loose, and it's just not quite what I was wanting. So I think what I'm going to do is, it's a commercial yarn, so like color matching is not really a problem. I will just order a little bit, and it's not that expensive either, like a relatively inexpensive yarn. So I'll just order, I think I need 1 or 2 more skeins to have enough yardage to make the fingering weight version of this top, and like at a tighter gauge, like on a smaller needle with more stitches, obviously. And actually I think I prefer for this yarn the shaping of the neckline in the fingering weight pattern as opposed to the DK worsted weight, which I still want to make. I do have some other yarn that I might be able to use for it, or I still want to make the worsted weight version because the fit's a bit different and the neckline's a bit different. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a cast on fail. I'll unwind this eventually. It's a bit of a bummer, but what can you do? You live and you learn, and oh bum, I have to do more knitting. That's the good thing, is even if you make a mistake and do something wrong, the worst case scenario is you have to do more knitting, and knitting is really fun. So I don't really mind having to do more knitting. It's a bit of a bummer because I think this top is really, really pretty. So the only other thing I have to talk to you about today, and I might just talk about this and then wrap it up because I'm just looking and I've been babbling for quite a bit longer than I thought I would have been for not having a lot of content. While I was in Melbourne the other weekend, I did pop into just one yarn shop this time because I wasn't there for very long. I went into Yarn & Co in Fitzroy, which is a really lovely yarn shop. I kind of wasn't really going to buy any yarn because I only had a very small amount of luggage space. I just did carry-on, and I still had to check my carry-on when I flew because it was so bulky. But when I flew home, I should say. But I did get 2 things from Yarn & Co. The first one is the new issue of Ami Risu magazine. Yay! I love this magazine so much. I just think everything about it is just so gorgeous. The pattern I'm most psyched about, I saw this on my friend Jenna's Instagram, the lady who lunches. I am like her biggest fangirl. I actually feel a little bit creepy sometimes, but I'm just obsessed with her and everything she makes. And she flagged this pattern to me, and she's actually started making it as well. And it is a scarf with a little hood that you can make to button onto the scarf to make like a little Red Riding Hood. It's called the Akazukin, and it's designed by Mikiko Gasnier, who is based in Paris. And it's just like a gorgeous worsted weight scarf with, an optional hood that you can make to attach with buttons. But like, how is it optional? That is so cute. The other pattern that looks really nice, I saw this on, must have just come up on Instagram. It's called the Rubalite cardigan, and it's just designed by the Amirisu team. Actually, do you know what? I saw this one on Yarn & Co.'s Instagram. They were recommending color combinations because it's like a, I think it's a fingering weight or a DK weight yarn held with a mohair. But that pink is so cute, and I think it's just a really lovely little cardigan too. But this whole issue, it's issue number 19, Inside Stories. It's just gorgeous, and Amirisu is always beautiful. So I'm really stoked to have that. And I did get one little ball of yarn. I wasn't really going to buy anything, but then I saw this and I couldn't not. So this is by Half Baked Hand Dyed, which is an Australian yarn dyer who is also stocked. I believe you can buy, she has an Etsy shop, but you can also buy her in store at Yarn & Co. if you are from Melbourne or in the central Melbourne area. But you can order from Etsy as well. This is her Aussie self-striping sock, which is a merino nylon blend. It doesn't say percentages on the tag. And the colour's called Sunnyland, but it's this amazingly bright, so there's pink and green and orange and yellow, and in the fading light it's really not doing it justice. It is super bright, and I just think it is so beautiful and so fun. And you know, I love a self-striping sock yarn, and a really bright pair of socks I think is just really awesome. So I just couldn't resist. She had some more muted, like all of her colorways are really beautiful. She had some more like calm and muted ones, which are probably more my usual aesthetic, but there was something about this that I was like, yes. I think it's because it was the most horrible day, the most Melbourne day. It was literally 20 degrees colder than it is in Brisbane on that day. So it was like 32, like at 10 o'clock in the morning it was 32 in Brisbane and 12 in Melbourne. And when I landed, got on the sky bus, it was like raining sideways. It was freezing and windy and it was so miserable, and I just saw this yarn. I was like, yes, that reminds me of home. I have to get it. So I actually did pick up some books while I was in Melbourne. Do you want to see those? Yeah, I have time to talk about those. Hope I edited that out. But I did get 2 books from my favourite bookshop in Melbourne, which is on Burke Street, but kind of up away from the mall end, so like away from the centre of the city end of Burke Street. It's called Paperback Books. It's really cute from the outside anyway, and they stock an amazing range of stuff. But I got 2 books. First one I got is Deborah Levy. What's this one called? Yep, The Cost of Living. So she's writing like a 3-part kind of memoir series. So I've read her first one, which is called Things I Don't Want to Know, and I read that in one sitting. I mean, they're really quite narrow, and they're more just like collections of little memories from different stages of her life. And the first one, I think I read it in one sitting. It was amazing. I love Deborah Levy so much. And that one was about kind of more her childhood and adolescence, and this is kind of her young adulthood, I think. Can't wait to read that. I love Deborah Levy. Highly recommend. And she has a new fiction book out as well, the name of which I cannot recall, but it looks really good too. And the other one, I've been wanting to buy this book since it came out, I think just over a year ago. So excited. I mean, I'm a little bit bummed. I did get, one of the reasons I had to wait so long was because I didn't want a hardback, because I don't like hardback books. But the paperback of this has freaking these flappies and these stupid deckled edges, and I hate them. Hate them with a passion. One of my friends studied publishing, and she also hates them. And we talk about it all the time. That is just ridiculous. But this is super exciting. So this is Homer's The Odyssey, but it is translated by the amazing Emily Wilson. And so this is the first time, I think, at least a commercially available publication of The Odyssey has been released that's been translated by a woman. And she has kind of gone back to the source material, and because translation is like a form of adaptation, which is something I could talk about for a really long time. But when you're translating something, it's passing through your brain. So your own personal beliefs and values and biases and things are going through you as you translate. So no translation is like a replica, a complete replica. There's always something of the translator in a translation. And she kind of went back to the source material, and there was a lot of kind of just like values of like basically like British translators in the 17th, 18th, 19th century in the editions that we had kind of taken as the true translations that weren't necessarily reflecting the values of Homer, which obviously like only if you're reading what Homer wrote in the moment when he wrote it are you getting what he was like, the moment that he was writing in. But Emily kind of tried to, I think she also did quite a lot with like the scansion of it, so getting the beats per line and the flow of the story, rather than trying to condense it into something that was more acceptable to Western English speaking ears, has kind of tried to bring the original flow back to the piece as well. It's not really the technical term, but so yeah, this fresh authoritative translation captures the beauty of this ancient poem as well as the drama of its narrative, blah blah blah, written in iambic pentameter verse and vivid contemporary idiom. Emily Wilson's Odyssey sings with a voice that echoes Homer's music, matching the number of lines in the Greek original. The poem sails along at Homer's swift, smooth pace. And that is so exciting to me, because some of them, sometimes, like I read other kind of classical things, just some things kind of felt a bit missing, and this really excites me. So I'm really excited to read this because I think Emily Wilson is very, very cool. So I think I have waffled on long enough. Probably watched me get slowly more and more grainy as the sky has slowly faded while I've been talking. But as always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to sit and listen to me go a mile a minute about things I'm excited about. What are you excited about at the moment? Is it knitting? Probably. Are there books, movies, TV shows, podcasts? I'm actually really in the market for some audio podcast recommendations. I still have to listen to Dolly Parton's America, but I don't think I can listen to anything else about murdered people for a while. Very burnt out on very depressing crime podcasts. So Dolly Parton's America is already on my list, but if you have anything else that's just kind of cool and interesting, I'm also at the moment listening to season 3 of Slow Burn, which is about Biggie and Tupac, and it's really interesting. And I'm also listening to the new season of Mafia, which is like terrible, but in a really enjoyable way. Sorry that cut out really abruptly. My phone started ringing and I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. But yes, if you enjoy things about organised crime, you'll probably, and like the history of the Mafia, you'll probably enjoy Mafia. And if you're not interested, the awful production will put you off so much you would never want to listen to it. But it is really fun. So they're the kind of podcasts I've been listening to. I'm almost all the way through Cold and it's destroying my brain. I cannot, it is too sad. So any like happy, informative podcasts. That's a good description. Happy, informative audio podcasts. If you have any recommendations, leave them down below. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your week. This will probably go up on Thursday, depending on how slow everything is around here. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and let me know what you're excited about in the comments below. Clearly I'm very excited about everything, but tell me what you're working on, tell me what you're listening to. I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon, and I really appreciate it. I really do. And yeah, I will see you in the comment section or on Instagram or in the next episode. See you later.